say who picks option B and option A. And I'll read the short post and then we'll get into kind of the longer one that I wanted to cover after you make the choices and what happens. So I wrote in the post, you have arrived. All the hard work paid off, and you wake up one day achieving the financial stability coupled with the body you desired. Your life is engineered exactly as you saw in your dreams. You're still single and now highly sought after. Your choices are A, casually dating and getting women pregnant who fit your criteria to have your baby. You're not going to be present and you will not settle. She knows this. They all know this, and you're honest about it, and they're fine with it anyway. You'll never marry due to the current legal frameworks, and the market is now heavily tilted in your favor. You'll have plenty of children with plenty of women, and half of them will marry with a cuck, most likely. And then option B for you will be you find a woman who matches all your requirements, and this might take longer than expected. You'll lead a traditional household. You're limited to a few children at most, and your wife will age gracefully beside you. Women, beautiful and young, look at you, and they would if you wanted, but you chose the traditional life. So one day you wake up, you have arrived. And I said, be honest, what would your choice be? So from some of the responses, or at least most of the responses picked B, so the traditional lifestyle, which was a good sign. But we had a couple people, and I'll read their post, actually, that said, actually, they would do A. And it went, where was that? It says, if it's consensual from both sides, then A would be okay. And there are women who want your kids for genetics. Or say if you have some magical genes that reduce offspring of being diagnosed with cancer, something that women will see as making you genetically superior. So he went off on a little extreme in there, but then it says there's really no different than guys being sperm donors. However, I think in practice, women are generally going to be too emotional, and whilst they might be okay with it now, later down the line, either the woman or the kid will want some kind of relationship with you, and that is why sperm donors are always anonymous. If people go down this route, it'd be better to make it 100% transactional, ideally with a contract with payments, etc. And without going too far off point, it's the kind of argument that illustrates benefits of pay for play relationships. So interesting. Now, what I wanted to talk about was what happens when you do make the choice and what choice should you make. So I'll sell you on the first one, why A would be so good. So you could say, start it over in your mind. You wake up, right? It's something, and you are exactly what you dream of being. It's a topic. We actually don't discuss this if you think about it. The manosphere never talks about what happens when a guy actually does all the work and arrives at that place. The red pill's kind of really focused on step one, live, step two, talk to women, get dates, smash, blah, blah, blah. So for sure, this doesn't get discussed enough in the manosphere or in the red pill space. I'm pretty sure on that. I haven't seen anybody kind of talk about the morality of it all. So where in these communities we're told that guys should be grinding and they're, supposed to be building, you're supposed to finally be making it in life when you start to have some what do you call it, discipline and all this stuff. There's an assumption that once you arrive, that once you finally have this money, the body that you've always wanted, right, and the status along with that the hard part is over for you and that you won, the game of life, essentially. But that's not true. Actually, it's not even true at all, because what actually happens to you is you'll wake up one day and you really have arrived, like actually your real dream life, not the fake version where you tell yourself that you're okay, but deep down inside, you're still grinding or you're missing some things, or you're still stressed about money or still wondering if you're going to make it. Not that okay. We're actually, you are here. Your dreams are true. So you've arrived for real. And then the brutal discipline, right? Imagine the relentless focus, the years of sacrifice where you said no to all the fun shit, all the partying, all the distractions, every easy path. It all finally paid off. And now you have that financial stability that you've engineered. You built the body through the thousands of hours in the gym, right? And a life that no longer struggles for resources. So now it's a game of managing abundance, which is what most guys, 90% of guys, never achieve. So you're still single, but now you're the prize. And the shift is undeniable. Women that wouldn't look at you 5 years ago are now initiating. They're now pursuing you. They now qualify themselves to you. And the market tilted entirely in your favor, okay? And this is peak, literally. Right when you think you won, you face this fork in the road that's going to define the whole second act of your entire life. And it goes something like this. The first path is that of the conqueror, you could call it. And it makes a seductive promise to a lot of guys. It says that you didn't sacrifice, and this is your own voice speaking to you. I know because I've been there. You didn't sacrifice all these years of building your life, building yourself just to cage yourself again. You didn't escape this fucking matrix just to walk back into a different prison, right? This is your voice telling you this. So you'll decide to use this new leverage you have for your position for maximum freedom and genetic proliferation. So you'll operate from radical honesty, from abundance mentality, and then you'll casually date women who fit this strict criteria, but only on your terms. And you're brutally transparent about the entire arrangement from day one. There's no guessing here. You're not going to settle down. You will never be a present husband or a father in the traditional sense, and you'll never marry under the current legal frameworks, right? And we know that this strips men of their power and their assets. How screwed up the biases are in court. The woman, she knows the deal completely. There is no deception for her. There's no false promises. You're not lying about anything, no leading her on. And if she agrees, what's the problem? She agrees to have your child. So she did it with full knowledge and agency. You didn't trick her into this. And she's understanding exactly what she's signing up for. And you provide financially. You're not abandoning anybody, just dumping seeds in people and walking away. But your presence is limited. And your commitment to yourself comes first, always. So your life becomes a series of short-term alliances where you probably maintain complete control over your time, your resources, your emotional energy. And this path ensures that you will have many children with many women, scattering your DNA far and wide. You're like the Genghis Khan of the day. So you're maximizing your genetic footprint in a way that mirrors evolutionary success of apex males throughout history. It sounds fucking good. I mean, the logic is compelling as fuck when you think about it. Why should you limit yourself to 2 to 3 children when you could have 10, 15, 20? Why should you bet everything on one woman when modern women, I mean, just look at the divorce rates, and the legal systems are designed to destroy men? Why should you sacrifice your freedom, your time, your peace, for fuck's sakes, for a social construct that no longer serves you, the man? Think about it. It's highly seductive. And you've seen the stats. I don't need to keep repeating them. 50% divorce rate, 80% initiated by women, family courts that favor the mothers heavily, financial devastation, even when you did everything right. So the conqueror path lets you enjoy the fruits of your labor without the systemic risks that comes with a legal commitment. This sounds reasonable. It sounds like a strategy, right? It sounds like the man making the smart play here, doesn't it? But then here's the part that they don't tell you about this path. What you won't see until years later, until it's way too late, because the cost of this freedom, by the way, is control over your actual legacy, not just your genetic one. Understand it like this. Your children will exist, yes, but they'll be raised by women you don't see at all, most likely, and influenced by men who aren't you, maybe weaker men. Maybe much weaker than you. Maybe men whose values are actually the opposite of yours. And maybe men who resent the child that isn't even theirs. Can you imagine that? So you will have sons you will never teach to be men, daughters you'll never protect from predatory men, and the children who carry your DNA will get none of your wisdom, none of your discipline, none of your values. Half of your kids might have your genetics, but they're shaped by someone else's worldview. And there's no amount of child support that'll change any of that. This equation stays the same. You scattered your seed, right? And you got a bunch of quantity, but you have no quality control over what grows. None. Is that what you want after all this hard work? You know, the promise was the freedom. I totally hear you. But the reality becomes a different kind of emptiness. You're now 55, you're wealthy, you're fit, you're still dating younger women. And you have a dozen children who barely know who the fuck you are, who don't even call you for advice. They don't even carry forward your name. Nothing. Nothing that you've built carries through them, except maybe a last name on a birth certificate. That's about the only tie you have to these kids. So your genetic footprint, yes, it is wide, but your actual influence is non-existent. You reproduced. That's true. But you didn't even build a legacy. You may have conquered and taken that path, but you didn't create any kingdoms. You won the game, but the prize turned out to be absolutely nothing in the long term. So that's why the first path is kind of a trap in and of itself. Now, the second path is the kind, I think you could call it the king's path. And it requires a different kind of courage for a man and courage to commit despite the risks I laid out, because the conqueror path, it's all 100% true, and it could lead to problems, and it does often so for a lot of men. But you didn't break your back to build this kind of life to not have any say over your children. So you take the king's path. This is path A. So you're going to commit despite the risks, right? You're going to try to build despite the possibility of losing everything, to accept vulnerability in exchange for something that might actually matter for your life down the road. So you decide that true power isn't actually the conquest, but in cultivation. So the ultimate flex, if you see today, it's not spreading yourself thin across many women, but concentrating your entire force on building something that lasts beyond your lifetime. That is your seed, your legacy. So you're going to embark on this long and difficult search for one woman who meets every single one of your requirements. It might take a while, right, for a lifelong partnership. It won't be just beauty or just submission, but you're looking for character, you're looking for values, you're looking for competence and the capacity to be a genuine partner in building something greater than either of you alone, right? This choice requires immense discipline because the vetting process is brutal. I won't lie to you. And the standards, they have to be non-negotiable. You're not looking for perfect. That's not even what I'm actually saying. But you're looking for, I would say, compatible, loyal, right? Capable, and willing to wait years to find it. That's then settle for someone who's close enough, because close enough in this equation isn't good enough because the stakes are too high. So once you find her, you'll build a traditional household. You lead a family with the clarity you're looking for and the purpose, right? And you accept that you'll have limited children, most likely. At most, 3 is the average, maybe 5 if you're lucky and if you're capable. And you willingly place the shackles of commitment upon yourself. You're going to trade infinite variety for focused depth, excuse me. And then you're going to trade the novelty for compounding intimacy, right? There's a lot of trade-offs here. Freedom for legacy, another one. And the cost of this control essentially is opportunity, and it's a cost that you'll feel daily, right? And I'm talking like every single day. What's going on, you guys? How's everybody doing today? We got a crazy one. I've been researching this one for the past 2 days, and you guys are gonna actually love it. We're gonna have to get into. It was great because somebody sent me an email and then another email and then a couple of posts, and then I went down the rabbit hole and I started researching everything, and I think I'm going to really start enjoying doing episodes like this. Also have to be extremely careful because we're gonna start off light, and we'll talk about an email I got about some crazy things happening in Sweden and what the feminists have actually been doing in regards to the migrants and stuff like that. It's going to be an eye opener for a lot of people, to be honest. Then we're going to move into Trump, which is the title, it's the meat of our episode. In the middle, Trump designating basically Antifa as foreign terrorist organization now, and pursuing them as a RICO case, which has implications far beyond just the foot soldiers that we're dealing with when he's arresting them on the streets, but this could go all the way up to people like George Soros, amongst a bunch of other investors. And then the final piece of this puzzle is a post that led me down a rabbit hole of Pizzagate, Podesta, and a slush fund worth hundreds of billions of dollars in essentially stolen taxpayer money. So we're going to get into, I think those are the 3 stories that I want to cover today. I've been working on them for a while, and if we have some time, we'll do some reactions. Have my notes here, and we're going to start getting into this. I'll try to get to the super chats at the end because there's just so much information, and I already go off on tangents. So I'll play this super chat. Fine. No more after this. Okay. Maybe my super chat. What's going on here? Let me make sure I can fix this. Something's up with the supers.
Christian Tanase $5. Bo, you should hop on to BO6 right now. Season 06 just launched. Hope to see you online soon. Road to 1000 continues.
Thanks, brother, but he's trolling me. There is no level 1000. He's trolling, guys. He's for sure trolling. Okay, I'm going to pause them now. Okay. Life-saving info. Thanks, brother. I'm glad you like it. Okay. So, hello. I got an email from one of you guys about what's happening essentially in Sweden right now. And if you thought what we talked about last time, the Denmark housing disaster, just wait. If you thought that was bad, you're going to hear about an absolute clown show that is Sweden. And it's much worse than we make fun of here in the States, where criminals essentially are getting massages and pizza. And I'm not joking about this. And they'll get parties instead of actual prison, right? Native Swedes are watching their country burn and turn into a third world war zone, no less, with skyrocketing crime and hidden statistics because of someone's skin color or religion, and taxpayer-funded humiliation rituals. And I'm not joking. We're talking about feminist bureaucrats that are pushing a hug a thug bullshit program. You got migrant clans infiltrating every level of society. You got secret police codes that are burying the truth about immigrant violence. And the media is literally pixelating dark skin to make rapists and killers look like white Swedes. Okay? And the center of all of this is a controversial criminologist who's been excusing this rot for the better part of 50 years in Sweden. So this is documented. This is happening right now. And you can actually look up one of these cases right now on Google. And it's what's waiting for you if you don't stop catering to feminism and open borders. Okay? I'm going to walk you through how this all connects, because once you see the full picture, you'll understand exactly what they're doing here. So we'll start with the latest insanity out of, I think, a place called Gav, something like that. The pronunciations are horrible. Don't mind me. So you have a 13-year-old kid. He goes on a shooting spree. He blasts 6 people in a gang-related mess. And this kid is already tied to criminal networks, okay? He's known to social services over there. Everybody knows he's a problem. And what do the geniuses in charge propose? Jail? No. He's a kid. Deportation? If he's an immigrant spawn? Hell no. We're keeping him. The unit manager, right? There's this woman. Her name's Anna Krantz. She comes out swinging against lowering the criminal age or any harsher measures, because this is what was being discussed in the media. Instead, she wants more relationships, more collaboration with cops and shrinks. And get this, fund for gym memberships, football shoes, and going out to eat. And not only that, but massages for tired parents. This is Sweden today. Massages, man. This kid shoots up a place. He injures half a dozen people, right? And the fix is rubbing down his mom and dad. She literally went on to say, we need to give people a feeling that they're worth something. And buy a pair of football shoes, go out and eat. Giving massages to some tired mom and dad. That's their version of justice. Holy shit. Is this social services or a fucking spa retreat? And who's paying for this bullshit? Swedish taxpayers are, while their streets turn into war zones, no less. So you picture this, dude. You're a regular Swedish dad in some town. You're busting your ass at a factory job, and you're coming home to your family in what used to be a quiet little quaint town. Now gangs are shooting up the block because kids like this 13-year-old are running wild. And instead of locking him up, the system buys his parents a massage. An entire session for them just to iron out the kinks of their neck in raising their criminal child, hoping they feel valued. So his taxes go to pampering the parents of shooters while his own kids can't play outside without dodging bullets. So he starts locking doors. He's never used to locking those doors. Tells his wife to avoid certain areas after dark, and then wondering why the hell his hard-earned money is funding feel-good crap that does nothing. It's humiliating. It is a ritual, a degradation ritual, where the natives foot the bill for criminals to get spa days. And who's pushing this? Women in social services, feminist politicians who think tough love is toxic masculinity. They rule with this soft glove, and look what happens. Crime explodes. Gangs thrive. Regular folks are the ones that are suffering. But it gets worse. No, it gets much worse. So much worse. Because this message, this fucking madness, it's not isolated. Over in another Swedish city, for example, the police, get this shit, are holding pizza talks with hardcore gangbangers, hardcore criminals. This is taxpayer-funded pizza and soft drinks like you're at the fucking office for the same thugs shooting up Stockholm. They called it the GVI strategy. Now they rebranding from the fucking slop. I think they had something called Stop the Shooting program. Yeah, dude, Stop the Shooting. To avoid the stink of the massive failure that was the one before it. It's the same soft bullshit. They invite the baddest hardened criminals to call in, feed them pizza, give them speeches about how we don't want you to die. Doctor and engineer, we need you. Stop the violence. Please think about getting jobs, mainly being an engineer and a doctor, and hope that this reflects change on the hardened fucking criminal, just willy-nilly raping your daughters, shooting up your sons. And the local police chief, this fucking moron, he's optimistic. He was saying, maybe they'll preach to their gang buddies and turn things around. Yeah, dude. The whole squad's getting together after some fucking groomer gang rape, and it's just going to be like, oh man, that pizza. I don't think we should be doing this, you guys. Like, the Dr. Pibb was too good. I changed my mind. No Swedish blondes for me. I'm going to ask for permission now. Come on, man. What do you fucking think actually happens? The shootings keep rising. The fatal ones, too. None of that shit's stopping. These programs just recycle the same fucking criminals. Half the suspects in past versions ended up back in serious crimes within a year. Feminist policing here. You see? Or we should say a feminine democracy. Its own demise. So they reward these drug dealers with free munchies and expect them to quit their criminal ways. And there's another approach that they love. The Swedish critics call it juice and buns strategy. Basically, it's the same thing. Bring in gang members, sit them down with snacks and soft drinks, have a nice chat, and expect them to stop being violent criminals because you gave them pastries and orange juice. What are you fucking doing? The pinnacle of feminist policing. You can only find it in Sweden. And critics, all the critics are screaming, rightfully so, it's not a solution to gang wars, to the bombings, to the grenade explosions. It's just more leniency that lets known perps walk free after a fucking chat and a snack. And he says, declared gang laws, he's declared, I think he said, gangs are outlawed, arrest them all, deport the immigrant ones with their family, lock up the Swedes. He's saying crazy shit to the natives that actually want to make a difference. But the system is prioritizing these bad people, just like in every other part of the Western world. The criminal runs rampant, gets 20 times off bail, snacks, sweets. We see it in the United States. We see it in Sweden. We see it in the rest of Western Europe. The police in the UK, it's absolutely the worst. In the UK, if you merely speak out against things happening against the citizens, the police will come and arrest you. What the hell? What are they doing? This is literally the only tool in the feminist toolbox. Soft approaches with massages, free fucking desserts, pizza parties for violent scum, trying to seduce the criminals into behaving by offering treats and whatever, but never really punishing them. Is this the feminist way? Imagine you're a young Swedish guy. You're just starting out, maybe working construction or driving for a living, whatever. You hear about these pizza powwows where gangs are getting fed on your dime while you're scraping by to pay taxes that fund this fucking circus. Then a shooting happens near your apartment. Maybe a stray bullet hits close to home, and you think, why aren't these bastards in jail? Your neighborhood changes. More gangs mean more drugs, more fights, more fear. You can't afford to move, so you're just stuck watching your community degrade. Kids are getting recruited because the soft stuff doesn't deter shit. It's a humiliation ritual. Just like in America, where they dump millions on trans choirs or free car loans for fucking illegals, using taxpayer money to rub people's faces in the decline that they're funding. And speaking of decline, let's talk about the rape epidemic. Because where this soft insanity hits the hardest is exactly that: women. The irony. It's so thick. 1 in 4 Swedish women have been raped or assaulted now, with a reported 50,000% increase in rapes tied to mass immigration. And what's the police's genius fix for this? Handing out armbands, like we're fucking Nazis or something, that say don't grope. Literally armbands with the Swedish phrase for don't touch printed on her arm. I shit you not. If the armband says don't touch, you're totally not gonna touch. The national police chief rolls this shit out for the youth events where the cops are wearing them as well. Then they pass them out and hope it sparks chats and reports. Come on, dude. Armbands against gropers and rapists? That's like putting a don't steal sign on your fucking wallet and calling it security. There's $1,000 in cash here. Do not touch. Drops the wallet off in the middle of the fucking busy street corner. Totally. Only in Sweden. Could only be in Sweden. And then they had some scandals in 2017 with a festival where cops literally downplayed everything that happened. Their so-called strong measures, their big crackdown, it's all a joke. It's a feminist band-aid on pretty much a gaping wound. So think about what it's like for the average Swedish woman dealing with this nightmare, dude. This is crazy. Say you're a mom in Stockholm right now, and you're working as a nurse, for example, trying to raise your daughter in what used to be a safe city. Now with migrant gangs and clans everywhere, and the shit you hear about, the assaults daily, unwanted touches, or worse, your daughter comes home from, say, a festival, scared because some creep groped her, or worse, and all the cops offer is a fucking armband? Don't touch. Sweetie, you forgot your armband. Greta, please don't go out without your don't touch armband. And you should do that like cringe fucking dance that they have. They have a little dance where they did some fucking whack shit showing like, don't touch my private parts. These people have lost their fucking minds. Okay. So what's a mother to do? You start restricting her. No late nights, no more solo walks, turning your life into a prison because the system won't lock up the real fucking threats. The taxes you pay, just a slap in the face to these useless campaigns while the rapes are skyrocketing from the immigrant heavy areas. Let's not pretend it's anywhere else. This shit is terrifying. It's humiliating. You feel abandoned by the very women in power who push this soft shit, prioritizing dialogue over justice. You voted for it. That's the part that must sting the most. Where's the urgency here? because here's where it connects. The whole society, essentially, has been infiltrated by these criminal migrant clans. So they've turned Sweden into like a mafia state. There's this BRA report. That's the Swedish National Council for Crime Prevention. Okay, it was commissioned by the government and Swedish Democrats. So it lays out that clan-based immigrant networks from non-Western countries have wormed into every sector: the justice system, real estate, accounting, legal services, security, transport, you name it. Okay, they exploit the clan loyalty to coerce relatives or place enablers in key jobs. Diversity policies make this extremely easy. They'll push in this mixing and broom infiltrators everywhere. Swept aside. Categories like they'll manipulate staff in prisons or in social services. Business types getting paid to launder money. Essentially plants that are seeking specific roles in society. You want examples? For example, there was a court employee in Atunda that was leaking information to gangs. Gets prison, right? Then harbors workers in Helsingborg on payroll for drug smuggling. You got prison guards smuggling communications to inmates. It's systemic, you guys. Government departments are compromised, and law enforcement undermined completely. The welfare is twisted in this country. Okay? Think about this. If you're the elderly Swedish couple in some small town, you're retired, you're living off your pension, your quiet life is shattered now. When clans infiltrate local services, maybe their real estate agent is laundering gang cash, or the security guard at their bank is on the take. Suddenly, drugs flood the area, break-ins spike everywhere. You can't trust anyone. And the taxes they paid for decades. Now it funds a system riddled with these outsiders. While politicians hide this shit, it's a betrayal. A slow invasion, eroding society, eroding trust. And if you're a native, a business owner, competition from clan-run operations, they undercut you. And they threaten you if you speak up. It's like a mafia. It's the mafia thing all over again. A humiliation ritual. Again, their country was handed over on a fucking platter. And they hide it, all with this censorship shit, starting with something called Code 291. Okay, listen to this. And you need to understand exactly, because this is one of the most Orwellian things. We're talking about digital ID in the UK, but look at what Sweden has had. It's Orwellian as fuck. So Code 291 is a secret classification code in the Swedish police database called Storm. Okay, specifically, it's used to tag crimes related to asylum seekers and migrants, any incident at a refugee center, any crime involving an asylum seeker, any violence at migrant housing facilities. It all gets tagged with this code. Okay, on the surface, that seems like, okay, a way to track, criminality in certain groups or migrants, or just track migrants in general. Okay. But here's the thing. Once something is tagged Code 291, it disappears from public view. So journalists can't access it. The local politicians, they can't see it. Municipal leaders who are supposed to know what's happening in their own towns are kept in the dark. It's a black hole designed specifically to hide migrant crime from the Swedish people. For 20 years, police chiefs, often women, or the soft types, have been burying migrant crimes under this code specifically. There's at least, what I saw, the statistics say 5,000 cases from just October 2015 to February 2016. In just that time span alone, we're talking rapes, assaults, brawls, arsons, bomb threats, death, all tied to migrant or refugee sites, but kept from the public. You want examples? I have a list of them right here. There's the murder of a 22-year-old. Her name was Alexandra Mezer, and it was at a refugee home. She was stabbed to death by a 15-year-old migrant. It got coded 291, so it wouldn't show up in crime statistics as migrant violence. Another one, you had a riot at Emma Boda with an armed uprising, coded 291. Arson on asylum barracks in Ekeby, coded 291. A massive fight in Trangslet that needed 11 police patrols to break up. Guess what? Coded 291. You had 900 assault calls to one refugee hotel in a single year. Guess what? Coded 291. Hidden from view. What the fuck? Imagine being a local politician in one of these towns trying to fix things, but the police won't tell you about the 900 assaults at the hotel because it's all been classified under Code 291. You push for more refugees thinking everything is fine, while your constituents are suffering unreported hell. Or you're a journalist trying to dig for some fucking truth about what's really happening, and you get blocked. You get gaslit or told that statistics don't exist or can't be released. Code 291. It's fucking Orwellian. And it ties directly to insiders protecting the narrative that immigration is safe and beneficial, when the reality is the opposite. And then there's, I can't believe I have to even explain this one, that it even exists. It's called white pixelization. This is the ultimate mindfuck here for the Swedes. And this is where the censorship gets truly insane. You almost have to laugh at the absurdity of some of this shit. Every time a migrant commits a crime, the media and the police pixelate their face in the mugshot or the security footage. But they don't just blur it. They actually lighten the skin tone to make dark-skinned perpetrators look white. Swedish critics have a term for it. They call it making them white through pixels. Dark-skinned perps, seriously, are getting digitally bleached pink or beige. So when the viewers see it on the news, they think it's a white Swede who committed the crime. They have a word for it, but I'm not going to pretend I know how to pronounce that shit at all. Then, the actual suspects, of course, full face shown if they're white, duh. The name published right away. Everything out in the open the moment that they're caught. You have examples like the black murderer David Jassy. So his normal photo shows him as a black man, but when Swedish media publishes it, his skin gets lightened to pink, making him look more Scandinavian. This is deliberate, dude. This is sick. This is just to hide the link between immigration and crime, to protect the open borders narrative. Right-wing critics will call this shit lunacy, hypocrisy from the left-wing media who claim that race doesn't matter, but then they'll alter the appearance of non-whites to downplay their involvement in crime. Isn't that weird? Imagine you're a middle-aged Swedish man, dude. You're watching the news after a hard day. There's been a report of a rape or a murder. The pixelated face looks like a white guy, just like you. Pale skin, could be your neighbor. You think, damn, my people are monsters. We're the problem. What's wrong with us? But actually, it's a migrant whose face has been digitally altered to guilt-trip natives. Meanwhile, your daughter gets assaulted and the system makes excuses for the perpetrator. Humiliation ritual, and it's dividing the country. It's making the Swedish people doubt their own when the real criminals are being protected and disguised. How sick is this? And at the heart of all this, guess who it is? It's a man, or I should say, a person. Jerzy, what's his name? I have to read this one again. God, these names kill me. Sarnecki, Jerzy Sarnecki. This is Sweden's most debated criminologist, Jewish background. 50 years been pushing this rod on Sweden. 50 years. He's got a book, and I had ChatGPT just summarize it for me. Essentially, and in interviews, he downplays immigrant crime. He says that overrepresentation is socioeconomic, okay? He says that the new immigrant groups that form, an underclass essentially, displace the old ones upward. So the poor immigrants that come in make the older immigrants move up in social class. Makes no sense. He says there's no macro link between immigration and crime or the rising crime. Okay. And the critics all hate him for his soft lines, always excusing poverty over accountability for the migrants, making excuses for why certain groups commit more crime instead of holding them responsible. Very strange shit. And his influence, he shaped the very policies like Code 291 and the media approach to that pixelization. He gets constant media spotlight to spin the statistics and tell the public that they're seeing, or I should say what they're seeing with their own eyes, isn't real. He grew up, or I should say, grew up post-Holocaust, so he rejects the idea that immigrants should assimilate or stick out. But his views enable the cover-up that's destroying Sweden. How strange. So you imagine being a Swedish student studying criminology? Sarnecki is your fucking professor feeding you this bullshit. That crime is just about class. You know, about the clans or culture. No, not about that stuff. You graduate, you join this system, you go to work for the police or social services, and you perpetuate the same softness that the left, we should say, let spiral out of control. This is a big fucking story. Okay? Feminism lets women rule with soft tools, massages, pizza parties. Don't grope armbands. While migrants are essentially infiltrating every level of society. They're committing crimes, they get hidden, under secret fucking codes, no less, by the government. Get their faces whitewashed. How crazy is this? In the media. What? That's pure propaganda. That's lying to people. All with taxpayer money? Same as the US handing illegals money. It's a humiliation ritual. And the native population is footing the bill for their own replacement, and it suffers the consequences while being told that they're the problem. Where have we heard that before? Diversity is your strength. This is what happens when you let feminism in and open borders run wild. And this is the future waiting for every Western country if you don't wake up and push back from this shit. Sweden is like the canary in the coal mine, right? It's showing you exactly what's coming and what's possible. You have to reject feminism in the West, close the borders, as America has done. Because if you don't, it'll be too late. And you'll be living the Sweden nightmare. And you'll be watching your country turn into something unrecognizable. Ask the UK. While paying for the privilege to see it burn. Is that what you want? We want to avoid the point of no return. So that's the Swedish policing going on in the Nordic country. And if you're sitting there thinking that, you know, as an American, at least we don't give massage sessions to criminals here. We just put them in graves. I wish. Yeah. Or at least that America hasn't fallen that far. And but let me tell you what just happened with Antifa. Because we got our own version of this bullshit. A nightmare, if you will. Except it's funded by billionaires using your tax dollars to burn the cities. While the media covers for them. So, October 8th, yesterday, 9th, today, correct? Yep, double checking, 9th today. The White House roundtable, there's a video going on of Trump. He's announcing that he's designating Antifa as a foreign terrorist organization on top of domestic terrorist labeling he gave them already. So he slapped them back with that one in September, I believe. And I already know what everybody's thinking. Foreign terrorist organization, isn't Antifa some American kids in like black mass cringy shit throwing tantrums on the street? But stay with me because what they've uncovered is actually crazy. It's so much bigger and so much more organized than what anybody wants to admit. And that's what's crazy. So Kash Patel's there. Pam Bondi was there. This investigative journalist, his name is Peter Schweizer from the Government Accountability Institute. And this guy Schweizer, he's laying out what he calls the protest industrial complex. So you got over $100 million in documented funding, documented so far, that's flowing into Antifa. Operations from a network of, you guessed it, leftist billionaires and NGOs. And at the center of all of this is one name, dude. And it keeps coming up over and over and over again. George Soros. Now, if you don't know who George Soros is, let me tell you about this guy. He's a 94-year-old billionaire who spent the last 50 years destabilizing countries and funding leftist revolutions around the world. And I'm not being hyperbolic here. This guy has a documented history of this shit. And that would make him an excellent Bond villain. He'd make Bond villains blush, actually. So Soros made his fortune in 1992 by breaking the Bank of England, if you didn't know this. He bet against the British pound with over $10 billion in short positions, and he forced the UK to withdraw from the European exchange rate. So personally, making him over $1 billion in profit in a single day while crashing the British economy and causing massive financial pain for ordinary people. And he's known as the man who broke the Bank of England ever since that little fiasco. So, okay, that was just the beginning for this guy. So throughout the 90s and the 2000s, Soros has been behind what they call the color revolutions. And I'm sure you've heard of them across Eastern Europe. These are regime change, essentially, regime change operations. They're disguised as grassroots movements where he funnels money through his Open Society Foundation. If you haven't heard of that from now, we'll start hearing about it a lot more in the future, especially with Trump going after him. And he uses this foundation to fund protests, fund activists, train these activists, provide logistics, media support to overthrow the governments that he doesn't like, and replace them with ones friendly to globalist interest. Globalist interest. Yes, if you are wondering, he is Jewish, and he was raised in Hungary, and he got to experience a fascist government under Nazi Germany. And he does primarily describe himself as primarily Jewish, if that matters to you at all. Anyways, he's funded the Georgia color revolution in 2003. That was known as the Rose Revolution. That was Soros money. Ukraine in 2004. That was the Orange Revolution. Soros money. Kyrgyzstan in 2005, they had something called the Tulip Revolution. That was Soros money. You see, he's been doing this for decades, okay? Destabilizing countries, funding insurgencies disguised as democracy movements, and the pattern is always the same. His NGOs move in, they start funding local activist groups, training them in protest tactics, providing media to support and amplify the message, legal support when they get arrested, and coordinating with Western media to frame it all as a fight for freedom against authoritarian regimes. The globalists are doing this. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, maybe those were legitimate democratic movements, maybe he was on the right side, consider this. Soros doesn't do this in China. He doesn't do it in Saudi Arabia. He doesn't do it in any country that's actually authoritarian and opposed to the West. He only targets countries that aren't playing ball with the globalist agenda, countries that want national sovereignty, countries that resist open borders and centralized control. Okay, Hungary kicked out his Open Society Foundation in 2018. Poland did the same thing. Russia banned his organizations years earlier, and all three countries explicitly said it's because Soros was funding groups trying to destabilize their governments, undermine their sovereignty, and push globalist policies that their citizens rejected. And Viktor Orban in Hungary, he's been the most vocal about this guy. He's called Soros a threat to European civilization. He said his network was trying to force mass migration on Europe against the will of the people. And when you look at what Soros funds, it's all open border groups. It's all migrant rights organization groups. And these people, and they sue the countries for enforcing immigration law. Groups that provide logistics support to bring in more migrants to Europe, all those boats with all those people crossing into the UK, that's Soros money. Them having cell phones, them having plans on where to go, the NGOs that are there welcoming them with blankets and hotel, that's all Soros money. This is what he does. This is his pattern. And now he's doing it in America. Okay, his Open Society Network is one of the primary funders for guess who? Antifa. Right? So Schweizer breaks this down at this roundtable with Trump and everybody else. Over $100 million is flowing through a web of interconnected NGOs and foundations, and they're all designed to obscure where the money's actually going. And it's not just Soros, by the way. He's part of a larger network that we're coming to discover. Arabella Advisors manages billions in dark money for leftist causes. They're basically a fiscal sponsor, meaning they provide financial and administrative services to projects that don't want to register as their own nonprofit. So you can donate to Arabella. They create a pop-up group with whatever name sounds good, okay? The group then does the dirty work. And when the heat gets too much, they just dissolve it. And then they'll create a new one while the donors remain hidden. Isn't that nice? And they manage something like $1.6 billion, flowing hundreds to hundreds of groups, funding everything from activist campaigns to riot logistics to legal defenses for those that are arrested, all those militants. And it's all perfectly legal because they're exploiting loopholes in the nonprofit law that were supposed to be for charitable giving. How disgusting is that? So the Tides Foundation does the same thing. Donor advised funds, where you give them money and they distribute it to whatever groups you want. And nobody can trace it back to you. Perfect for billionaires who want to fund domestic unrest without their name on it. And they've been doing this shit for decades, funding radical groups, environmental extremists, open border activists, all under the cover of philanthropy, right? And then you've got this fucking guy named Hans-Georg Wyss, a Swiss billionaire who's pumped hundreds of millions into American politics through his foundations, despite not even being a U.S. citizen. What the fuck is that? He's funding climate groups, open border groups, groups that align perfectly with Antifa's agenda of destabilizing the American institutions. And the question no one asks is why? Why is a Swiss billionaire so invested in American domestic politics? What does he get out of it? Strange, no? Then you have another Neville Roy Singham, another. This guy is a mega donor just like the rest. This one ties to Chinese interest. Funding again. Leftist groups, always a leftist group in America. And when you add it all up, what do you have? Well over $100 million. We just have $100 million documented. There's probably way more that's hidden, flowing into God knows where. What Schweizer calls is this Riot Inc., this organized structure with PR divisions, legal divisions, logistics divisions, recruitment divisions, all working together to radicalize kids, coordinate riots, and attack political enemies. And the left wants you to say, like, oh, it's just a loose organization of ideas. There's no real structure behind it. Bullshit. And this is what makes it a foreign terrorist organization. Antifa has operational ties to networks in Western Europe. They coordinate with groups in Germany, France, and the UK. They share tactics. Funding flows across borders. Militants travel between countries to participate in these riots. It's an international movement with nodes in every Western country, all pushing the same globalist open borders agenda that benefits people like Soros. And the rest, or I should say, the recent developments are what brought this to head. In July 4th, Antifa militants ambushed the ICE facility in Texas. They were wearing tactical gear. They were using explosives. That's an attack on federal infrastructure by an organized group. That shit wasn't just random. That's terrorism. And even the AG in Texas, Paxton, he launched like undercover operations to infiltrate what he calls leftist terror cells. Okay? So on October 1st, federal agents arrested Antifa members blocking a Portland ICE facility. And a journalist named Katie Davis Court, covering the arrest, got bashed with a pole while the Portland police stood there watching. They wouldn't intervene. They let her get assaulted on camera, and they exposed an Antifa safe house near the facility where the militants were coordinating operations, storing supplies, planning attacks, shit like that. It's crazy. And then a North Tifa, Texas cell, essentially, got indicted on some federal charges for attempted murder, pending 120-something plus arrest during the summer of those Portland riots. And Cash Patel at that round table talks about following the money, mapping what he called a disease temple of corruption, using the RICO charges to dismantle this whole network. RICO is the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. That's the same shit they used against the mafia. So you prove that there's an organization, prove that there's a pattern of criminal activity, coordination, and then everyone involved becomes liable. The foot soldiers, the organizers, the financiers, the whole structure comes down. This was the only way we were able to get rid of the mafia once and for all. And that's what they're building towards. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, said that they're mapping the financial flows. And Patel says, money never lies, and that they're going to go after all the sources, all the funding, the NGOs, the foundations, the dark money networks, all of that shit, all of them that have been operating in the shadows for years. Okay, so, and you had Elon Musk jumping in at the round table saying taxpayer funding alone exceeds 100 million, meaning that the government is paying for its own attackers. That's right, your tax dollars, yours going to NGOs. That's your money that turns around and funds Antifa operations. And nobody's being held accountable because the previous administration found it politically useful to have street enforcers attacking Trump supporters. That's what it was. Imagine you're a small business owner in Portland, for example. You spent 20 fucking years, dude, building your shop. It's how you feed your family. And summer 2020, Antifa comes through, smashes your fucking windows, loots everything, burns it down. And when you try to rebuild, they come back and do it again. Insurance won't cover you anymore. The city won't help you. The mayor sympathizes with the rioters. The police are ordered to stand down. And when you complain, you get called a racist. Everything you worked for, gone. Destroyed by masked militants funded by George Soros and Swiss billionaires. And the people who did, or I should say, the perpetrators that did all of this, they get bail money from their NGOs, legal representation from activist lawyers. Their charges get dropped right back out into the streets for the next night, the next riot, the next op. You have billions in damages since 2020. Thousands of businesses got destroyed. And the media calls it mostly peaceful protest. Never forget that one. It became a meme. Mostly people protest where you saw cars on fire and businesses destroyed. Or you could be that federal agent at the ICE facility in Texas, just enforcing immigration law, which is your fucking job. And July 4th, Antifa militants show up with explosives. You go to work wondering if you're getting fucking ambushed today. It's insane. If there's a fucking IED planted somewhere. Because there's people who declared war on you for just doing your job, and the media calls them heroes, fighting fascism, no less. What a joke. This is organized terror, funded by the richest people in the world to destabilize America, to push open borders, to attack anyone who resists globalist agendas. And it's been operating openly because the media covers for them. And the Democrats found it useful. You see how deep the rot goes? Now Trump's going after the whole network. So he's designating them foreign terrorists. He's going to use RICO on their ass. They're going to follow the money to the source. I hope they find it. And they cut off all this funding. And then prosecuting the organizers. And making it too fucking expensive and too risky to continue this bullshit. And I hope we get to see George Soros and all his ilk, all the globalist cocksuckers in chains. I hope. That's what will be real justice. Because arresting the morons that are on the streets, committing all the acts, they'll get replaced with other morons. A street soldier's not valuable. You need to cut the head off the snake. All right. I do have to. I have to say though. Here's something that's kind of, been on my mind. Something that we really need to talk about because we are kind of in dangerous, uncharted territory, and it's about as conservatives, as people who care about limited government and constitutional rights, because there's a real concern here that needs to be addressed. The powers Trump is using right now to go after Antifa, designating them foreign terrorists and using RICO, right? The Treasury mapping out all this financial network stuff, the FBI surveillance, all this creates tools and precedents. And that could be used against us if a radical Democrat takes power. I just want you to think about it this way. I made a post about this and it wasn't too popular with people, but they're not thinking on a deep enough level. I'm not talking about like a Biden level Democrat. I'm talking about someone far more radical, someone who actually believes conservatives are the real terrorists, someone who would use these same exact tools to crush dissent from the right. Think about it for a second, please. If we normalize designating domestic groups as terrorists, if we normalize using RICO against political movements, if we normalize the Treasury investigating funding sources of, say, activism, what happens when the left gets power and decides something like the Tea Party is a terrorist organization, or decides anyone who supports border security, for example, is a domestic extremist, or decides conservative think tanks are part of a conspiracy that needs to be dismantled? Yeah. They've already tried to do this, you guys. They called parents at school board meetings domestic terrorists. Have we forgotten already? They sent FBI agents to investigate Catholics as potential extremists. They labeled half the country as MAGA extremists who are a threat to democracy. Imagine if they had the legal framework and the precedent to actually follow through with these fucking designations, terrorist designations. Imagine the RICO cases, the financial surveillance we'd be under. This is the double-edged sword that I want you to think about, of expanding government power, even when it's used for good purposes, even when it's targeting actual fucking morons and bad actors like Antifa, because the power doesn't go away when your guy leaves office. It just sits there waiting for the next person to use it. And if that next person is a radical leftist who views conservatives as the enemy, we just handed them the tools to destroy us. And here's the thing. If Trump and his team don't fully dismantle these leftist networks, if they go after Antifa but leave the funding infrastructure intact or don't destroy it completely, if they arrest the foot soldiers but they don't prosecute or manage to jail the billionaire donors and the NGOs funneling the money, then all we've done is temporarily suppress the problem. Then we give them time to regroup, they'll rebrand under a different name, and they'll come back under a different name with the same funding and the same agenda. We've done nothing. You cut one head off and another one grew, two more. They'll learn from this. They'll adapt and they'll be more careful. And when a Democrat will take power again, because one day they'll get their shit together, they will come back harder, more organized, with institutional support. And they'll use the precedent we just set to justify going after conservatives with the full force of the state. This is why it's so critical that if we're going to do this, if we're going to use these extraordinary measures or powers against Antifa, we have to go all the way. There's no half-assing this. We have to dismantle the entire network, prosecute George Soros and all the other billionaire founders. You have to, or the funders, but you can call them founders too. You have to shut down the entire NGO network. You got to break the dark money network. You have to make it that so that this infrastructure can't just pop up back under a new name. You understand? Half measures don't work. You can't just trim the branches. You have to pull the whole tree up by the roots and burn it. Because if you don't, and they'll grow back, and they'll remember what you did, they'll be ready to do it to you the moment they get the chance. Okay? I'm not saying Trump shouldn't go after Antifa. Don't make any mistake. I know people were mad at that post. They're like, did your account get hacked? Okay? They are absolutely fucking terrorists. They are scum. Okay? They've caused billions in damage. They killed people. They attacked federal facilities. They need to be stopped. But we need to be aware of the precedent that this is setting. Because the tools that this creates, the risk that these same powers get turned against us by a future administration that views patriotic Americans as the real threat is so high. This is the uncomfortable reality of fighting an enemy that controls institutions, that has billionaires that are backing them, that operate through legal loopholes in these nonprofit structures. You have to use government power to go after them. But using government power always comes with risks, always creates tools that can be abused. And we've seen how quickly the left weaponizes institutions, especially when they're in charge. So yes, dismantle Antifa, follow the money, prosecute the funders, use RICO, do whatever it takes. I don't care. But do it completely, please. Do it thoroughly. Tear the whole thing down so it can never come back. Because if you leave the infrastructure in place, if you leave the funding networks intact, you're just setting the stage for them to come back stronger and use the same tactics against you, which is us. And it's going to be a fucking nightmare. That's the calculation we're making here. Those are the risks that we're taking. We need to be clear-eyed about it. Because even though we support going after these domestic terrorists with foreign funding, who've been destroying American cities for years, you need to understand just how bad this could actually get if we had a radical Dem president who was willing to go all the way for what they viewed as justice. Okay? All right, so we just covered Antifa. We'll do some reactions after this one. Antifa getting over $1 million from George Soros. All the leftist billionaires that are funding domestic terrorism. You're seeing all these patterns. Seeing how these people are operating, basically billionaire money flowing through NGOs, funding all the chaos, all the subversion. And but I want to tell you about something even bigger. And this one is homegrown, right? More brazen. It makes the Antifa funding honestly look like pocket change. And it's going to piss a lot of you off, Americans specifically. But September 22, we'll start here. Biden appoints John Podesta to oversee the distribution of $375 billion from the Inflation Reduction Act. That's billion with a B. 375 smackaroos in climate-related funding. And Podesta gets to decide where it goes and who gets the contracts, who gets all the grants, with basically no oversight, no transparency, just trust us, bro, we're saving the planet, okay? And what did these conservative investigations start digging up when they were looking into all this? Where did the money go during Biden's term? That's what everybody's asking. Well, apparently at least $20 billion, that's what's been documented so far, $20 billion went to various environmental and social justice groups, of course, many of which were established, get this, literally right before receiving the funds. There's no proper IRS registrations. There's no transparent federal filings. These are shell organizations that just pop up, get billions in taxpayer money, and then nobody can track where the money actually goes. It's called robbery of public money. And this money, this essentially is money laundering, and it's on a scale that would make the fucking mob look like amateurs with what they're doing in the United States government. The New York Post broke some of the recipients. So, Climate United Fund. They got $7 billion despite having no IRS record. How does this happen? Don't know. But this organization doesn't exist. Then suddenly it's incorporated in November 2023. And by April 24, Kamala Harris is cutting them a check for $7 billion. And when you dig into who's behind Climate United Fund, you find ties to United Way, an organization called Rewiring America, where Stacey Abrams served as a senior counsel. It gets weirder. So Stacey Abrams, the woman who still won't admit she lost the Georgia governor's race, she's connected to groups that received $2 billion from this fund. Groups that previously raised only $100 fucking dollars. You read, yeah, you heard me? You're clocking me, as the young kids are saying. You did. 100. They had a failed campaign in Georgia. She was not popular. Nobody wanted to vote her in. It was all billionaire money and NGOs. They managed to raise $100. Somehow somebody gave her $2 billion. Can you explain that one? So these organizations went from raising $100. Somehow, that's all they mustered. Their social media campaigns were dog shit. And then they received $2 billion in federal funding. Why? Because Podesta decided they should get it? That's literally the only reason that was needed. Strange. So you have $100 million to the Climate Justice Alliance. And when you look at what the Climate Justice Alliance actually does, they're not planting trees, bro. They're promoting anti-Israel activism, as some of the radical leftists would call it. They're accused of glorifying Hamas, or actually the radical right, or the slurpers of Israel on the right would actually say that. Actually, the radical left would support this. So they glorify Hamas, right? How is this the climate fund? I didn't know Hamas was fighting fucking climate change. Why is Israel killing them then? What the fuck, right? So they support terrorism, essentially. That's your hard-earned tax money. They're jihading the fucking carbon in the atmosphere. Calm down. So you have 100 million more goes to this thing called the NDN Collective, the Native American organization that advocates for defunding police and dismantling the U.S. military. You what? Nothing to do with climate change. Everything to do with radical leftist politics. And they got 100 million of your tax dollars to do that. 50 million to the New York Immigration Coalition and the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice. Don't you love these names? Both pushing for open borders, immigrant justice, open borders. You can't make this shit up. Amnesty for illegals, abolishing ICE, of course. These are the same groups that we just talked about, with Antifa getting funded by Soros, except now they got direct government money through Podesta's climate slush fund. Wow, it's all connected, isn't it? So you got 50 million to social and environmental entrepreneurs. This is an organization that openly calls for abolishing police and prisons. Sounds like Mamdani came from that. And that's their stated end goal. End law enforcement entirely. And Podesta gave them $50 million in climate funding. $1 to $3 million to the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, another defund the police group that also supports decriminalizing shoplifting, meaning that they want you to be able to walk into a store, take whatever the fuck you want, and face no consequences. And this got federal climate money. I didn't know we were saving the climate robbing stores. This is the same playbook we just saw with Antifa, with Sweden. Use taxpayer money to fund the destruction of your own country. Call it something noble like climate justice or racial equity, and when everyone questions it, call them deniers, call them racists, shut down the conversation completely. You fucking bigots. Charity Watch CEO called this ethically concerning, which is nonprofit speak for this is blatant corruption. Groups with no track record, no transparency, no proper registration, getting billions in federal funding to push radical agendas that have nothing to do with the environment whatsoever. And John Podesta oversaw it all until Trump took office in January of 25. Now, if you don't know who John Podesta is, beyond his role in the Biden administration, let me tell you about this guy, because the rabbit hole goes deep and it goes dark, and it connects this to some of the most disturbing conspiracy theorists in modern fucking American politics that you'll ever hear. John Podesta was Bill Clinton, his White House chief of staff. He's been at the center of Democratic power for decades. He ran Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. And in March 2016, his emails got hacked. And it was attributed to this Russian hacker or hacker group called Fancy Bear. And those emails got released by WikiLeaks in October and November, right before the election. Okay. And when people started reading through these emails, they found some really strange shit. And I mean really fucking twisted. Messages with weird language that didn't make sense in context. references to pizza and hot dogs and handkerchiefs, and stay with me, I know it sounds fucking weird, in ways that seem like code for something else. And the internet autists do what internet autists do. These investigators started piecing together what they thought was this code that was based on known PED terminology from FBI documents, so child diddlers. Okay, this became what was known as Pizzagate. And the theory that emerged from those emails was that Podesta, Hillary Clinton, and other Democratic elites were involved in a child trafficking ring, that they were using a pizza place in Washington, D.C. called Comet Ping Pong as a front, that the emails contained coded references to abuse, to procurement of children, to occult rituals. This shit is insane. Now, before you dismiss this shit entirely, before you say like, it's been debunked, I know there's some people that say that, or it's just wild conspiracy theory nonsense, let me walk you through some of what people actually found, okay? Because, and whether you believe the full theory or not, there are people, or at least elements, let's just say, in the story that are undeniably disturbing and have never actually been adequately explained by anybody. So the emails reference pizza constantly in context that makes zero fucking sense. Podesta getting emails about a handkerchief with a pizza, some like pizza related map on it. Messages say like, is it yours? It seems pizza related. What does that even mean? Nobody talks like that when you're ordering actual fucking pizza. And investigators claim that in PED circles, pizza is code for child videos. That's all I could say. So hot dog means young boys. Cheese means young girls. This is all based on FBI documentation of how these networks speak and communicate. Okay? It gets worse. Or I don't know if you can get worse than that, but it gets even weirder. Let's just say that. You got spirit cooking emails. So you have this weird, absolute demonic looking person. You can Google her. Her name is Marina Abramovich. You may have heard of this name before. She's connected to very strange fucking things. Just Google image Maria Abramovich. She's a performance artist who's big in elite circles. Shocker to nobody. Sends Podesta's brother, Tony, an email inviting him to a spirit cooking dinner at her place. Sounds like nothing. Oh, spirit cooking must be very Christian. And when people looked up what spirit cooking is, it's an occult fucking practice involving blood, semen, breast milk, and other weird shit, most likely, with ritualistic performances that Abramovich does. And there are videos of her doing these rituals, covering walls with blood, writing weird shit, phrases everywhere. It's not hidden. This is actually documented stuff. So Tony Podesta responds that he's attending, and John Podesta is on the email chain of this shit. And people start asking, why are all these high-level political operatives involved with occult rituals? What is this about? This is strange. And then there's Tony Podesta's art collection. Google that. Well, maybe DuckDuckGo. I don't know if Google will even show you that. So Tony Podesta, John's brother, was a major DC lobbyist. His firm, the Podesta Group, was one of the most influential lobbying operations until it folded in 2017, amid scandals that it was linked to Russia and Paul Manafort. And Tony is a known art collector, and he's been profiled in magazines. He's hosted events at his house, and the art he collects is disturbing. That's putting it lightly. He owns paintings by artists named Biljana Đurđević, is a Serbian artist, and her paintings depict children in bondage, children in distress, in positions that are sexually suggestive and abusive. And I'm trying to keep that as PG for YouTube as possible. These aren't abstract. These are realistic paintings of kids being tortured. And Tony Podesta has these hanging in his house. What the fuck artwork is that? He also collects shit from Louis Bourgeois, another artist whose work deals with similar shit, crazy stuff, themes of sexual abuse and cannibalism. And some of those pieces have been donated to museums. They're featured at events, including at Comet Ping Pong during pizza parties that Tony attended. Why does a high-level political operative, collect art depicting child abuse? Why does he attend spirit cooking rituals? Why are his brother's emails filled with coded language that investigators say matches known PED rings and communication patterns? The conspiracy expanded beyond just Comet Ping Pong, and it included connections to Jeffrey Epstein's circle. Epstein, the convicted pedophile, who ran an international trafficking operation from his island, who had connections to Bill Clinton, to Prince Andrew, to academic institutions, and who died in a jail cell under suspicious circumstances while awaiting trial, took his own life, and then we're told the list never existed by our current government. Strange, isn't it? And there are connections to Dennis Hastert, former Speaker of the House, who was convicted of, guess what? Child molestation, serial abuse of boys when he was a high school wrestling coach. And Hastert had ties to John Podesta through academic and political circles. They moved in the same world for decades. Pizzagate evolved into Pedogate, into QAnon, into a broader narrative of a satanic elite cabal running global affairs, trafficking children, performing rituals. And while the mainstream media debunked it when they said there's no evidence, while they pointed to the guy who showed up at Comet Ping Pong with a gun in December in 2016 as proof that the whole thing was dangerous nonsense, none of the underlying questions ever got answered. Not one. Nobody explained the emails. Nobody explained why Tony Podesta collects that art. Nobody explained why the spirit cooking connections. Who's trying to eat blood and semen? Nobody explained why so many of these people are connected to convicted peds like Epstein and Hastert. The media just said it's debunked, called anyone who questioned it a conspiracy theorist, a danger to society, shut down the conversation entirely. And then fast forward to 2022, and John Podesta gets handed $375 billion in taxpayer money to distribute with basically no oversight. What? Most of the leftist media either ignored the story entirely or framed it as a valid climate equity work. They dismissed any concerns as politically motivated attacks on necessary investments in underserved communities. They didn't mention the lack of IRS registrations. They didn't mention the radical agendas of the recipient groups. They didn't mention Podesta's history or connections. They just ran PR for the regime. Conservative outlets like the New York Post did actual journalism. They were digging into the allegations. Or allocations, excuse me. And they were trying to name the recipients. They're trying to show the connections. And they got called like a right-wing rag propaganda for doing basic reporting. It's insane. And when people on X started talking about it during Biden's term, they called it, I think it was the pizza Accords. They posted pictures with Podesta with pizza references, tied it to the climate fund back to Pizzagate. This is the same guy. The same pattern of corruption. This is the same elite operating above the law. Millions of Americans, they looked at the Pizzagate evidence back in 2016 and they thought, something's really fucking off here. And instead of investigating, instead of providing transparency, the establishment literally circled the wagons. They protected Podesta. They shut down any questions and then gave him control of hundreds of billions. What? Think about the pattern here, man. George Soros funding Antifa through NGOs to riot in the streets. Podesta funding radical groups through climate money to push the same agenda. Swedish feminists, most likely funded in the same manner, giving massages to criminals while hiding immigrant crimes under secret codes. It's all the same system. It's all the same people. It's the global elite using their wealth and their power to destroy national sovereignty, to flood countries with immigrants, to defund the police, to create chaos that justifies more centralized control. And when you dig into who these people are, when you look at their connections, their rituals, their art, all their associates who keep getting convicted of the most heinous crimes, you start to understand why they're so desperate to maintain power, why they fight so hard to shut down anyone who questions them, Why they use every tool at their disposal to discredit and destroy anyone who gets close to the truth. That Podesta group, they folded in 2017. Tony resigned amid the Mueller investigation of Paul Manafort and the Ukrainian lobbying. The firm made $40 million a year at its peak and then just disappeared. Tony then disappeared from the public life, and by 2020 his lobbying for Huawei, despite U.S. restrictions, that was working for the Chinese interest. And then his brother was positioning himself to oversee hundreds of billions in federal spending. No one asked the question, what the fuck's going on here? You have a fire at Comet Ping Pong in January of 2019, investigated as possible arson conspiracy, right? Or that's an arson, or as a conspiracy. The arson itself was a conspiracy. No one was allowed to ask any more questions. And the theorists were saying that it was just evidence of literal evidence destruction. That's what you could call it. The media was saying dumb shit is just harassing a business. Nobody knows for sure what's going on. And then the story fades away like nothing. Everything connected to this kind of shit, to the people on this level, always disappears really quickly, swept under the rug. And now what's happening? Podesta's out of government. Trump abolished the position in April after taking office, but the damage is done. The money's gone, you guys. It already got distributed to groups that want America destroyed. And the question is whether anyone is going to get held accountable, or if this just becomes another memory hold scandal while Podesta goes back to running his think tank, waiting for the next Democrat to hand him another slush fund. You think Trump is going to be the guy to stop this? This is taxpayer money. Your money. $375 billion. That was supposed to go to clean energy and environmental projects. It got handed to a guy whose brother collects paintings of tortured children and attends blood rituals. A guy who's never explained the coded language in his emails. Never addressed that shit. Never addressed the connections to convicted pedophiles. Never provided transparency on where billions actually went. Never. Nothing. Not one word. Okay, so whether you believe the full Pizzagate conspiracy or not, whether you think there's a literal child trafficking ring or it's just elite corruption taken to its logical extreme, I don't know. The pattern's undeniable. Podesta at the center of Democratic power, 30 fucking years, surrounded by the worst kinds of criminals, sending bizarre emails, overseeing massive slush funds with no accountability, the media protecting him every step of the way. No accountability. We need full audits. We need investigations. We need RICO charges. If there's some form of coordination here, we need prosecutions. If we don't make an example out of what Podesta did, then the next time Democrats take office and they're in power again, they'll do it again. They'll just create another climate fund, another infrastructure bill, whatever sounds good. And they'll launder hundreds of billions to their allies while telling you it's for the greater good. You don't remember U.S. aid? They were already doing that. They'll rebrand it again. U.S. aid. And we need answers about this Pizzagate shit, about the emails, about the art, the rituals. Why are these people always connected to these convicted child abusers? Because even if you think as let's just say, some of the more famous conspiracy theorists, when they call it the satanic cabal, right? If that is what's happening there, if it really is out there, if Alex Jones is actually correct, this should be fucking concerning everybody. Elite figures that are operating by different rules than me and you. They're enriching themselves through this corruption. They're potentially involved in truly horrific crimes, like punishable by death. And the media is just shutting down anyone who asks any questions. Why is this so systemic? This isn't even a left or versus like right issue, honestly. This is just the people versus an elite class that's been robbing you blind while funding your own destruction. And if you let this shit slide, if you let Podesta walk, if he goes clean, to his think tank after distributing hundreds of billions with no transparency, then you're telling them that they could keep doing it. It's not just Antifa Trump should be looking out for. And what if Trump is implicated in some of this stuff because of his connections with Epstein? Maybe Podesta walks. Maybe this machine, it keeps existing. We don't know. That's the scary part. We are in trouble. We'll go on a lighter tone, I promise. We are owned by PDFs. It's a sick world. It is. Let's react to some stuff. How do you guys like the monologue in the topics? If you have other topics you want me to cover, by the way, because these are coming from emails too, send them to tribeofmen@yahoo.com. These are like these are real hot button issues, and obviously you're not supposed to be talking about stuff like this. But we're just asking simple questions. Yeah, I'm not really indulging them. I'm just asking questions. Everything you can look up, it's all fact checked. So it's not like I'm blowing smoke up my ass. Is Bitcoin a psyop? Well, NSA did help start it. Don't know what to tell you about that one. Boy, what a world, dude. Satanic cabal elite. Child predators. Yeah, Alex Jones was right. The world is a demonic place. Okay. So we got one here. Like a bunch of you messaged me to cover this. Apparently it was a good one. Let's get into it. Female gooners must be stopped.
Hell yeah, America $5. Check out Crowder's Barshop Talk. The ignorance of black fatigue is real. No acknowledgement of facts, data or repetitive nature. This isn't looking good.
Can you email that to me? Can you link me that at tribeofmen@yahoo? Please link me that. I'd like to watch it.
Isaac $5. These kinds of people only understand one language and Sweden is refusing to utilize it. Sad times, man. Mundo Amphibio to Jordanovsky $5.91. Hey. I followed your advice and fled the West. Was in Spain for years and returned back to my home country. Isaac $5. You don't have to imagine. China has already done all this. Look at Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
Calrac $5. Sounds like our healthcare system. Treat the symptoms while never actually curing the disease. All while milking us for everything we have.
What a sad state of affairs. Yeah. Appreciate you, brother. The rot starts at the top, actually, not at the bottom. All right, so we got one here from Shoe on Head. Let's get into it.
Oh, I didn't see you there. What am I reading?
Am I buffering? Okay. YouTube.
Oh, I didn't see you there. What am I reading, you ask? Well, just one of the best-selling books on Amazon right now. With millions of sales and almost 20,000 five-star reviews, this book has been absolutely blowing up, especially on TikTok, or Book Talk, as the kids call it. Thousands and thousands of women, in particular, have been raving about this piece of literature. What piece of literature is it, you may ask? Well, Morning Glory Milking Farm, of course. A popular romance novel about a young woman down on her luck who does what every young woman does when facing financial struggle. She starts an OnlyFans. No, I'm just kidding. She wouldn't degrade herself like that. She gets a job jerking off monsters.
That's right. What? The Morning Glory Milking Farm.
I have been reading Morning Glory Milking Farm since last night, and I'm obsessed.
Oh, yeah.
This was a good time. It did not disappoint.
Oh, yeah. There's a look. There's a look.
If this book is trash, then I am a fucking raccoon. Give me all of the garbage.
Get your eyeballs on this, because
Jesus Louises, bro. What? Look at the schnauzer on this one.
so good.
Jeez Louise, bro. Suck up the earth.
I regret to inform you that there is a new epidemic. An epidemic that many have yet to discuss. And that epidemic is female gooners.
I'm reading what I read.
Now, for those of you unaware, gooner is internet slang for someone addicted to porn. And smut is slang for dark romance novels, otherwise known as porn. Many correct about the dangers of porn addiction with men, how it can destroy their lives and their relationships, and most men know the material they consume is weird. That is why they are ashamed of it. That is why they delete their browser history. That is why they go incognito mode. But these bitches freaks out here. They display their smut openly in bookstores. They proudly pose in front of their smut collections. They discuss their smut openly on TikTok. They go to smut conventions and get choked out by 9-foot-tall shirtless wendigos. Now, I know what you are thinking. Shoo, isn't this the pot calling the kettle degenerate? Yes. Yes, it is. But have you considered it takes one to truly know one? You see, women are strange, fascinating creatures. For centuries, men have tried to figure us out.
This is why we limited them in their freedoms. This is why we chose for them everything. This is why. This is why I'm convinced. This is why we didn't let them pick men. We just arranged marriages.
Food is affected by the tides and the moon. We bleed for 5 days and don't die. By painting my face, I can instantly shapeshift from a 4 to a 6. We are truly mysterious, magical creatures. But one of the most mysterious aspects of women to men is our sexuality. You see, us women are not like those disgusting moids. No, we are sophisticated. We are evolved. We don't watch videos of strangers slapping their sweaty bodies together. No, we read about strangers slapping their sweaty bodies together. It's different, okay? You don't understand. It's okay when we do it. So, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the rapidly growing popularity of dark romance on TikTok and the recent dark romance convention that ended in disaster. Let's take a break from all this depressing political news and talk about something silly. Not that those political things aren't important, trust me, they are. You should be keeping up with politics and made the hobby of literature and just flooded it with absolute slop. Spicy slop. You see, books on TikTok are not rated by how well they are written or how good the characters are. No, they are rated by the spice. And what does spice mean? Porn. It means porn. Spice level is to book talkers. How much spice does a book have? What are the spiciest books they have ever read? How spicy is the book they're currently reading? Spice. The spiciest book going viral on Book Talk lately is none other than Morning Glory Milking Farm by C.M. Nascasta.
Of course.
Violet is a typical down-on-her-luck millennial, mid-20s, overeducated, and drowning in debt. Oh my god! She's just like me! On the verge of moving into her parents' basement, when a lifeline appears in the form of a very unconventional job in the neighboring Cambric Creek. She has no choice but to grab it with both hands. Morning Glory Farm offers full-time hours, full benefits, and generous pay with no experience needed. There's only one catch. The clientele is grade A certified prime beef. With the manly, meaty endowments
Get
to. Okay.
the fuck out.
Morning Glory Milking Farm.
Get the fuck out of here. This can't be real. Milking minotaurs isn't something Violet ever considers a career option. I'm going to use ChatGPT to write slop. I have an idea. I'm going to write smut books. I'm going to use an offline ChatGPT with no censorship, and I'm going to write the nastiest, smuttiest, degenerate shit for women and be rich.
Endowments to. Okay.
Morning Glory Milking Farm is actually a profound critique of late stage.
This has to be somebody, whoever wrote that, it has to be AI. Morning Glory, Morningwood, Milking Farm, a fucking humanoid bull getting milked by women.
Capitalism and toxic masculinity. In this text, we see that the tingling sensation in her coochie is actually the tingling sensation of a Marxist revolution.
This is every fucking bread tube video to me, dude. This is every Jack Saint video. So I actually read the book myself, and I'm not gonna lie. The 19th Amendment.
Yes, the sensation in her vagina is Marxism. Okay. You kind of nailed it there. And who's pushing the Marxism?
It needs to be abolished. So, like I said, the story is basically this millennial named Violet, and she gets a job basically working at Big Pharma in Narnia, where they harvest minotaur milk to make Viagra for human males. And I read the whole thing. Probably gonna be put on some kind of watch list. But listen, this is my job, okay? I'm not out here like selling feet pics or something. What I do is far more dignified and normal. Now, let's take a look at some of these notes I wrote. Let's see. Big dick and balls. At one point, she says the term, and I quote, the seam of his sack. So I'm reading this, and the whole time I'm thinking like, okay, he probably has like a human head, right? He probably like looks something like this, like, you know, just a dude with like horns. Then I see the official artwork. That's a cow.
Wow, they're getting off to this. Wow. Really? This is the masculine dream, really. What?
Bro is a cow. Bro is a straight up cow. In a few parts, they're being intimate, and it will be like, his hooves clip clopped. My hooves will tear up your sheets. And it's like, I'm sorry, his what? At one point, she describes kissing him. And I swear to God, it was more disgusting than anything else described in this book. She's like describing how big and wide his mouth is and how big and like slimy his tongue is. She's like describing this shit, and you're just like, that's a cow. I mean, we are at a solid 5.5 on the Barbeau scale here. This is dangerous territory, folks. She also f***ers his ass. She f***ers the cow's ass. By the way, if you want an uncensored version of this video and all my videos, Patreon. Go to Patreon, become a member. All members get the uncensored version of every video, so you can hear me talking about s***ing and f***ing and f***ing a cow's ass. Is that what you freaks want? Anyway, I like how in this fantasy world, student loans still exist. Like, we can imagine a world with minotaurs and humans in a relationship, but we can't imagine a world without student loans. Sad. Oh, and he has one of those bull rings, like the nose ring theory septum rings. And in this world, that means, like, you're married, but apparently he's divorced. The man is divorced. This is a divorced cow with a cow ex-wife. The lore is deep, folks. The funniest part, though, has to be when they go on a date.
We're deep shit, you guys. This speaks to the larger issue of the intellect of the current crop of women. Our stock of Western females is at all-time lows. in terms of wife quality. They're getting off to bestiality smut. Literally milking bulls. Wow. Wow.
To just read this to you. When the bill arrived, she attempted to pull a handful of carefully folded bills from her wristlet before he stopped her. No, that's absolutely not happening. Put that away. She'd not thought about it until the day after their first dinner together, realizing that in mortification that she ought to have attempted to pay her half. What kind of feminist are you? She asked herself.
Uh-huh. She was a good feminist, she told herself. Of course. This is propaganda. No. This is George Soros funded propaganda. I'm convinced the billionaires are putting out slop to demoralize the population. This is it right here. This is literally mind control in a book.
She couldn't remember the last time she'd been out and hadn't paid for her half, including her coffee date with Carson Tinsley. She had come prepared that night, several weeks of her tips smoothed and tucked into her wristlet. But I didn't even offer to pay half the other night and shouldn't have. Violet. If the commanding rumble of his voice hadn't silenced her. The heat of his hand dropping to her knee would've. I don't want you to feel that you don't have any agency here. I might be the one giving all the orders. But you hold all the cards. Your comfort is the only thing that counts right now.
God.
And if I
This is the Jack Reacher slop in bestiality form. They have Jack Reacher. He's a very strong, muscular male, but he never initiates with the women. The women are always in control sexually of him. This is Jack Reacher slop. Once you see that in Jack Reacher, you'll never watch that again.
step, I want you to know you can tell me so, but that's not happening. Don't think I'm unaware we're at different points in our careers. You can say no, you can say you don't want to see me again, you can tell me to stop coming to the farm when you're working. It's dinner, not a down payment of your time, but I'm in a position to comfortably spoil someone. So when you're with me, I'm spoiling you. End of story. She was a good feminist, she told herself, and she definitely couldn't be bought. But if he had suggested at that moment that he would have appreciated a blowjob, she would have fallen face first on his cock with an open mouth without a shred of hesitation. Inside every woman, there are two wolves. Or two bowls. The strong, independent girl boss and the submissive, doting housewife. And in the presence of a masculine man, or a farm animal, she will fold like a lawn chair and instantly return to factory settings.
It's dinner, not a down payment for your time. But I'm in a position to comfortably spoil someone, so when you're with me, I'm spoiling you. End of story. I said, okay, I highlighted that paragraph for myself.
Clean up aisle 5. So that's what I thought of it. But what did other people think of it? What are the reviews on this book? This book has a 4.1 on Amazon with 21,000 ratings and a 3.6 on Goodreads with nearly 60,000 ratings. Let's just read some random ones here. Hear me out. Hear me out. A milking good time. Sweet and creamy. The spice is spicing. I was very leery of starting this because I thought it was just gonna be porn. The plot is pretty good. The plot? Please. This is like the new, I read Playboy for the articles, like, sure you do. This book could kill a Victorian child. 5 stars, I'll never look at a jug of milk the same. I think I'm lactose intolerant now. So that happened. Our eyes will never see the gates of heaven. 1 star, not a helpful guide. This book failed to teach me how to milk a cow and now my family has no food for the winter. 1 star, accidentally ordered while on pain medication after an operation. Gave this to my mom as a joke gift for Christmas. You what? Lesai. Why can't human males be more like this? Tall, rich, and handsome are no longer enough, boys. Now you have to be a 9-foot-tall creature from Greek mythology with a 13-inch dick. I never want to hear from another person about how they read 100 books in a year if this is the kind of slop they are consuming. Well, Ronald, man detected, this isn't for you. This is for women. So take your ass back to Barely Legal Babysitter 5 or whatever the f you watch that is so morally superior than this. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone, okay? God bless America. It's great to live in a country where I can casually enjoy cozy erotica about a young woman who milks her way to financial security and true love with a minotaur. This is what freedom looks like, and I intend to fully enjoy it before the Supreme Court takes this right away next. If this is what freedom looks like, I'm really rethinking my stance on freedom, not gonna lie. Maybe we should have less of it. All I know is if Donald Trump takes the monster porn, we are going to make 2020 look like a picnic, okay? Bull cock matters. Oh my god. Edit that out. Editor, edit that out. Women are gonna be picking up Animal Farm now, like, where's the horse cock? Some of you people owe a certain streamer an apology.
That's funny. Just be a 9-foot Jack Minotaur, bro. Let's have a 13-inch mythical pipe on you, bro. Jesus. We're headed into dangerous territory.
Because
will women actually outgoon men in the future? Can you imagine when monster maxing? Can you imagine when AI really does come out with robots? Like, women are going to outgoon men, I think. If this smut is enough for them, it seems like men are gonna be outgooned. Is this possible? Have we underestimated the gooning prowess of the modern female? Wow.
This book has way too many 5 stars. Some of you are lying. So after buying this book, Amazon has given me a few interesting recommendations. Would you like to see them? I accidentally summoned a demon boyfriend. That time I got drunk and saved a demon. Gentling the beast.
What the fuck? Dude, look at this. Cupcakes for my orc enemy. This is like all the deepest, darkest extrapolations of the female mind you will ever find. Look at this. Is this like could you call this a projection of essentially what they're thinking about with mass immigration? Right? Cupcakes for my orc enemy. Just open the gates to the barbarians. Look at this fucking shit. Look at this. Gentling the beast, coveted by the orc. These are feminist novels, and feminists are the ones that want the third worlders to come to our country, and they want to be coveted by the orcs. This has to be what it's about. This is the female psyche. You're seeing it. They're just anthropomorphizing these like animals and characters and weird beasts or, mythical creatures. But really, what they're really talking about is the current open border policies and all the migrants and all this stuff. Has to be. It's like a deep like some very disturbing psychological projection here.
Cupcakes for my orc enemy, mane of my existence. The gargoyle and the spinster, the widow and the orcs, hoarded by the dragon. There's something about dragons. Getting it on with gargoyles, gotten by the gator, mated to the mountain bear. Oh, so this is why they chose the bear. The billionaire orc, moth manager, wolves and whipped cream, the wolf in my tavern.
What the fuck? Why are there so many of these out, dude?
Pounded by produce.
No, this can't be. This a veggie love tale.
So what? Are these the books the Nazis burned?
My husband only reads finance and sci-fi books, and so I think it's about time that I introduce him to some real literature. So the first book that I would like to introduce you to is called
GMO maxing. Oh no.
Morning Glory Milking Farm. And it's not a normal milking farm like with cows. What it is it's big.
Dude, women are so much worse than men, dude. Women are the biggest degenerate, slop consuming,
broken brained demons, absolute demons. Not even produce is safe. Nothing is safe. Everything gets sexualized. Every space women move into gets sexualized. Every space, dude. The cigar lounges, the bars, the fucking men's only spots that they got let into, every fucking Twitch, a place where nerds got together to game, and we were just watching other nerds play games. And it was like, wow, Shroud is like a fucking aimbot in human form. And then came the fucking hot tub and the, what else was it? The hot tub meta and all that other stupid shit. These chicks stream. There's chicks streaming getting boned on the as they're live streaming. Twitch doesn't even bother banning them. They give them like a slap on the wrist. All those like IRL talk streams with these chicks with their giant fucking honkers, just doing nothing but bouncing up and down on those little bouncy balls. Zero fucking skills, only sexual. Couldn't play games like the dudes, just sexualize themselves. That's all. Yeah, bikini hot tubs. The bikini tub meta. Unreal.
Bulky minotaurs, and it's a special type of milking.
See, honey, she's his stepsister, and she got stuck in the washing machine again. Women on TikTok are openly, proudly talking about the porn they consume and getting mad at people when they make fun of it. I hereby ban men from reacting to romantasy on TikTok. Best-selling romantasy books like A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Fourth Wing contain descriptions of hot sex. I feel like that's common knowledge, if not their primary purposes. But in recent months, book talk has become full of men clutching their pearls while reacting to steamy scenes from these popular female-centered books. Obviously, this is all a massive performance. We live in the age of OnlyFans. The odds are that these men have seen actual porn that defies the laws of physics and God. Over 90% of men between the ages 16 and 73 watch porn in any random month. There's statistically no way all of these guys are shocked by the sex itself. What they are gawking at is sex from the perspective of female desire, scenes that depict women coming first and frequently. And what they are surprised by is the women they know love these scenes. In one video, a guy declares, "Now I know why women enjoy book clubs and wine." But his astonishment in itself is astonishing. Like, what do you think adult women were into? Not having sex and drinking wine? Grow up. Imagine a group of men sitting around drinking wine, discussing the porn they watch. That is what you guys are essentially doing. It's just funny, okay? Like, it's funny. Are we really going to pretend that a story about a young woman getting a job milking mythical creatures to pay off her student debt is not funny? It's funny. If that makes me a sexist and misogynist, you got me. To act like you are so different and above the other gooners is just, it's silly. I'm sorry, but you are no different than Joe Schmo jorking it to fat booty Latinas in Space 12. You're sitting there all high and mighty, one hand on the book, acting like you're so superior because you can perfectly envision a horse cock spinning 360 degrees in your mind. I'm not impressed. The scenes these men are reading, to many people, myself included, are insanely sexy. But purely in terms of the acts being described, they aren't all that lurid. And as many of the comments on these videos point out, there is much wilder stuff out there. For example, these men have clearly not yet discovered knotting, a popular term in romantasy right now that involves werewolves whose penises get so swollen after sex they have to stay inside their partners until the swelling subsides. Oh!
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What timeline are we living in? This is like a turbocharged Weimar Republic. What the fuck is this? I don't even know what to say. Oh my. Wow.
Oh, Oh, honey, that's not a popular trend in romantasy. That's just a thing real dogs do. Oh, you just don't get it. You don't know what knotting is. What are these women reading, bro? What happened to that, like, stupid fucking corny Hallmark thing, going home for Christmas to your hometown and falling in love with the cute farmer boy? What happened to that? We used to make fun of that. We truly did not know what we had until it was gone. Now women out here fantasizing about getting their asses clapped by demons and werewolves and goblins and ghouls. I remember when 50 Shades of Grey came out and people were like, oh my god, this is so crazy. Women are crazy. 50 Shades of Grey looks like missionary sex through a bedsheet for the sole purpose of procreation compared to the shit the average woman on TikTok is reading. At least Christian Grey was a human man and not a fucking dog. You fantasize about dating the quiet, shy, nerdy girl. You know, she's innocent, she's pure, she's not like those other girls, like going out clubbing and hooking up with random men. No, she's at home, curled up by the fire in a blanket, reading a book, except that book is about f***ing a half man, half bull. Let me let you in on a little secret. The quiet, nerdy girl is way more of a freak than the average hoe. Are you kidding me? It's not even close. The average hoe might have a body count of like 15 or so, but the quiet, nerdy girl is fantasizing about getting back shots from Cthulhu. That is at least 100 bodies. Now listen, there's nothing inherently wrong with fantasizing, okay? There's nothing wrong with roleplay. You know, fiction is fiction, right? You know, you're not actually going to bang your stepsister, right? These women are not actually going to bang a cow. Or at least I hope not. We all know there is a difference between fantasy and reality. Well, what happens when they try to bring fantasy into reality? Well,
No.
you get Sinners and Stardust.
So, sex club.
What in the eyes wide shut is going on here? Sinners and Stardust was supposed to be a dark romance ball for
Okay, swingers club. Okay.
romantasy authors and fans alike. So what's the big deal? Seems like a fun, sexy time, right? Maybe, if you're a woman. If you're a man, the night may have gone a little differently for you. Alright y'all, it appears I have to make a post that I'm frankly pretty goddamn upset I have to make. This post is for the readers who don't understand consent and boundaries only. A lot of you may know my good friend Animus. He's attended a signing of mine in the past and obviously is a musical artist. This past weekend, he attended Sinners and Stardust and probably had one of the most heartbreaking experiences. So listen, he's a man, right? But do we think that means it's okay to put your hands all over him without consent? Or to put your hands in his waistband or down his pants or touch his dick? Hello? Do we
All right, listen, if you're bitchless, we have a new strategy for you in this degenerate slop era we're in. You're going to have to go. What is this bullshit called again? Sinners and Stardust. This is the plan. This is the plan. You're going to dress like a bull. They don't even get to see your face. If you're busted as fuck, it's good. Bro, listen. You're bull maxing in a Sinners and Stardust. If you're ugly, you're good to go now. You have to max out the body, 100% get absolutely jacked, put the bull mask on, and they will start, literally, they can't stop grabbing your dick. This is a win. This is 100%. You are going to be blasting cheeks on the fucking dance floor. They're going to egg you on. Lines will form. This is it. If you're ugly as shit, you're a fucking 2.8 incel, genetically non-superior male, genetically death end, you will bull max your way to success biologically. That's it. Bull maxing. This is the chopped men solution. You are now getting straight to the Hollywood store. Get your bull mask. Got to get in shape. This winter is shredder or bulker winter for everybody. This is the body composition change, the change of a lifetime. Bull maxing. Doesn't matter. You're ugly as shit. You're like a 1 on the scale. Cool story, bro. Put the bull mask on and start getting abused by women. Attention you will never get otherwise. Holy shit. Wow.
I think it's okay to quite literally back him into a corner and touch all over him to the point that he literally cannot tell how many hands are on him?
Oh my God, this is an incel's wet dream. Bull maxing. You heard it here first. I got your strategy. This is for the new era. This is Gen Z material only. Gen Alpha, if you're coming up, listen to me. Go to the Hollywood Spirit store, right? Spirit Hollywood, whatever it's called. Get that motherfucking bull mask, okay? If anybody's looking at you weird, mind your fucking business. Hollywood is or Halloween is almost here. Give me the fucking bull mask. Might as well get the wolf one while you're on it. You got a wolf mask also for the nodding shit. Nodding shit, you might need like a penis ring or something, but that's all right. Don't worry about that part just yet. Bull maxing, minotaurs, wolves, fucking bugs, cockroaches, whatever. You got to get ahead of the game here. Maybe the bulls are in this year, but next year it'll be cockroaches, okay? You got to bug max also. Listen to this shit. They absolutely will pin you into a corner and touch you to the point where you literally can't tell how many hands are milking you on the spot. You are going to get milked by multiple women nonstop. You may leave demilked. They might drain your balls into raisins. This is a warning. This is like the little warning that comes under your mask. Warning. May lead to balls, testicles being drained beyond repair. must be 18 and older to partake. Okay. There you go, boys.
And whose are whose? Do we think it's okay to send him into an actual panic attack because of this? Furthermore, do we think it's okay to interrogate him and insist he detail how he'd kidnap a woman, despite him repeatedly saying he wouldn't do that and you know that shit is fiction, and then attempt to follow him when he tries to get away? And if that wasn't enough, during the time of this mob, him and another author received notification that an air tag was tracking him, which showed on his person all the way to his hotel room.
You don't need to do anything. They will even stalk you to your hotel room. Of course they would stalk you. And then in the middle of the night, you're going to wake up getting fucking milked by some stranger. So when you go to sleep, strategy number 2, in case you don't, or once you got demilked in the club, you're going to keep on the hat because you must be in costume. You got to be in the story permanently. You can't break the what is it called, the whatever that they're going for here, okay? The atmosphere of this shit, okay? The aesthetic, it can't be broken. So you're going to go back to the hotel room and then you're going to sleep with mask on. Just know you're being tracked, okay? The vibes, yes, the vibes. You can't mess the vibes up. So you're going to get trapped. Immersion, that's the word I was like, yes, you can't break this immersion. So we're going in the hotel room. We're going to pretend to go to sleep or go to sleep for real. And then you will get demilked. Wow. Milk cell.
They molested this guy until he passed out from anxiety. And then they put a f***ing track.
Pussy. That guy's a pussy. You see what a pussy that guy was? He's not a real fucking cow maxer, okay? He's not a real bull maxer. That pussy passed out because he got touched. Okay? That dude wasn't down for this shit. I know I got some writers in my video right here. They don't give a fuck. 10 million bitches touching you, stalk to your hotel, demilked, balls turned to raisins. Fucking with that shit. Real gangsters in the chat wouldn't pass out. What a bitch broke immersion passing out. You think real bull maxer would pass out? What a pussy, dude.
On him in order to stalk him back to his hotel. This poor guy dressed like a character in one of the romantasy books at this romantasy convention full of women. That is like throwing roast beef into a pit of wolves. Or in this case, throwing a wolf into a pit of roast beef. I remember years ago there was this thing called cosplay is not consent.
Ah, these are the kinds of weirdos you're getting? I bet you. Some of them got to look like that. Listen, sometimes you might have to jump on a grenade. You're going to get a wheelie. She's going to be wider than your fucking commercial fridge, bro. It's all good. Listen, close your eyes. She doesn't know what you look like. You don't have to know what she looks like. Close your eyes. Make sure you're masked. There's zero visibility. Just hands, they're touching you. And enjoy the ride, bro. get raisined up, you're good to go. Doesn't matter, hand's a hand. Yeah. Enjoy yourself.
Basically, it was a campaign to bring attention to the fact that people at conventions would often come up to women dressed in sexy costumes and just grope and grab them without their consent. Yeah, apparently we have to bring that back, because these women did not get the memo. I've been a furry for over a decade and attended a lot of fur cons. Sure, sometimes weird shit happens, but honestly, I can't believe the dark romance crowd is out here acting like this. Like, me and my buddies in our fursuits are more respecting of consent and bodily autonomy.
Wow.
Get your shit
Damn, you are fucked in the head if the furries are telling you you're fucked. Hey, bro, I dress up as a furry fucking creature, but we got some respect for ourselves at least. You people are animals. What?
together, y'all. When the furries are calling you out for being freaks, you need to reflect. Something has gone horribly wrong. Not only were the men at this book talk convention assaulted, but women were also assaulted by women. Multiple women, including a performer, reported being assaulted there as well. Even an author there said she was groped and dragged away from her friends and said no matter how many times she said no, quote, "My words did nothing." May I remind you...
That's the exact smut they're reading. Wow.
This is a book convention, okay? For books. Literal BDSM clubs are more respectful than this. There needs to be more studies on how this stuff affects women's brains, because clearly some are unable to tell the difference between fantasy and reality. Ivy Lipton, a doctoral candidate in human sexuality, actually wrote about this for EV magazine. I don't know what a doctoral candidate in human sexuality is, but she's hot, so I trust her. Your brain on orgasms isn't neutral. Dopamine release during climax is a powerful conditioning agent. What you repeatedly fantasize about becomes necessary for arousal. If your erotic imagination centers around abuse, monstrous violence, and submission to non-human entities, your brain is reprogramming itself to crave just that. It's not empowerment, it's neuroplasticity at its darkest. Scientists, psychologists, and the general public often state that men are visual and women are emotional. When it comes to sex, men can be turned on instantly by a sexual image despite their mood, and women need to be turned on emotionally to get in the mood. So it stands to reason that porn for men is visual and porn for women is in the mind. I'm not equating porn to smut novels, because one is a video of two people actually having real sex, and the other is, well, just words on paper. I am, however, talking about the effect on the consumer. We know watching porn is bad for the brain. That's been proven and only rejected by gooners who don't want to give it up. But is reading smut bad? You might say, duh, that's the whole point. Okay, fair enough. So let me rephrase, is reading smut harmful? Should we shame people for things that are wrong, immoral, or harmful? In my line of work, I've been told many times that shame has no place in sex. But if I use my brain for 2 seconds, it's clear that line of thinking is nonsense. Incest should be shamed, bestiality should be shamed, pedophilia should be shamed. I'm not equating monster smut with these things, but there are 50 shades of gray, so to speak, along the spectrum of harmful, conditioning your brain and body to associate.
No, we don't need to allow any of this shit. Shame them to shit. Get rid of it. Burn the books. Burn the books. This is the slippery fucking slope. And then eventually we normalize this and everybody's on this smut shit. And then incest. Look, in the UK, they legalize that shit. And then peds will come along and go, hey, what if we just take one more step forward? No, fuck off. Fuck off. If we don't stop this now, people, I'm telling you, it'll get to an extreme. You're going to start burning people at the stake. It's going to get crazy. We're going to have a civil war, dude. I'm telling you, there are going to be casualties. If you keep letting people get away with this shit and we don't right the ship to traditional values, we are headed towards a very dark point in history. You are never, ever going to convince me, you fucking child predator, that I need to accept your sexuality. I will fucking get a rope and hang you myself. Jesus Christ, dude. No way. We can't. We can't. It gets so weird. Things get so weird to the point that nothing is weird anymore. And then we accept if we don't stand for something, we stand for nothing. Oh my God, dude.
Pleasure with monsters, slavery, or sexual violence is not healthy. Basically, they're cooked. Like, Women are cooked. They are frying their brains with this stuff. It's a pipeline, right? It's like the infamous evil alt-right pipeline. You know, you start watching Shoe on Head, owning the feminists in 2015, and then in 2025, you're hailing Hitler, right? You know, the alt-right pipeline. And this one's like, you're reading Morning Glory Milking Farm, and the next thing you know, you're Mrs. Hands, right? Just say no. Just say no to monster porn. But why is monster smut so popular with women in particular? Like, you rarely see the opposite, and when you do, it's just like a girl with cat ears and fangs, or like a 10-foot tall dommy mommy vampire with giant titties. Meanwhile, women are like, I want to the pollution monster from Fern Gully. So people on Reddit asked this very question. Let's see the responses. Why do you guys like monster romances? Asking for a friend. Several reasons. 1, human men are quite often terrible. Romance books with human men are already partly fantasy, but monsters just takes the fantasy bit further. 2, it's sort of human nature to imagine relationships with paranormal beings and creatures. We've been doing it in literature and art for centuries. It's just gotten a lot more graphic now, lol. 3, unique body forms / parts and so many different kinds of scary, mean, terrifying creature is sweet to her, kind, takes care of her, protects her, works hard to be gentle, etc. Maximal escapism, minimal association to real-life assholes, the patriarchy, misogyny, and oppression of women, etc, etc. Because the monsters are less dangerous than dating actual men.
Come again. I beg your pardon. The monsters are less dangerous than dating actual men. Yeah, it's over. It was nice knowing you, Western civilization. We gave them too many rights. We didn't learn from our forefathers. We fucked up. Clearly, they don't know how to handle this power. We have brought this upon ourselves. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, boomers, for liberalizing our society so much. You failed to keep things conservative and traditional. We now live in this because you liked the sexual revolution. You guys did so many mushrooms and shit. You thought you had the answers, but you didn't. And thank you for bringing us a demonic fucking world as you're leaving this one for us to fix this shit with unknown amounts of casualties in the future war of good versus evil. Who knows? That we have to suffer through. All the greatness that was built in the past. We learned nothing from Rome. We're experiencing the same population collapse. Our women, our young people are engaging in the same degenerate things as they were. We have debased our currency the same way the Romans did. Where our coffers are completely empty. Our state is bankrupt. We are full of debt. The dollar is no longer, or it has no confidence in the international markets. There's now more gold internationally than U.S. treasuries. We have no real leadership. We have managers in this country. Wow. We stand for nothing. We don't value the truth. We censor it. We push lies. We propagate degeneracy. We split people apart. The man and woman are now enemies. Nobody's having kids. They can't afford to, but they also hate each other. Our money's fake. Our economy's fake. There are no real jobs. Our elites hate us. They're even worse off. They're not even gooning to shit like this. They're actively involved in occult crazy shit with blood and fucking semen, spirit cooking. Actively protecting pets. Our government is currently doing that. We are in fallen times. It is far more dire than you could ever imagine. Just me doing the research for the previous monologues and topics we covered, my jaw was dropped at some of the shit I was unconscious. Some of the stuff I cannot say over on YouTube.
Mundo Anfibio to Jordanowski $11.82. Is this the same as certain movies in men? Self-delusion to pixels/text. App CD $5. I'm guessing this is where the trend came from of women choosing a bear over men lol.
Yeah. Actually, that could be it. Actually. Let's finish this, please.
Dating actual men. As a fat woman of color, modern, contemporary, and even fantasy romances are hard to click to because they are almost always about thin white women and just too realistic, and romance in real life is not always attainable for fat women/women of color. In monster alien romance, though, my size doesn't matter, and it's easier to get into that headspace and enjoy it. I'm sick of the men on Earth and looking for some variety. Non-humans haven't betrayed and hurt me, so they feel like a safe haven, if that makes sense. Plus the unusual dick. Monsters have big, fun-shaped cocks. I love some bizarre peen. Unique genitalia. I don't know what I was expecting, honestly. A lot of women's smut, especially monster smut, is about submission, domination, forced breeding, non-consensual consent. The women are like conquered and taken and overpowered by these monsters. And I think many of these women are reading these books containing monsters and not men because masculinity and dominance in men has been completely demonized in modern society. But the truth is, many women still crave it. You see, the monsters in these stories have those like dominant masculine traits that women like so much, but they're not human men. They have all these traits women desire without the problematic baggage human men bring, without being the men they hate or have been told to hate. It is the
What a terrible day to be literate. Bigfoot is hiding for a reason, apparently. Women, porn gives me unrealistic expectations. Also women. Or porn gives men. Okay. The double standard on sexual assault is frankly disgusting. Yeah, I talked about that when being a bartender at a nightclub. When they all said they chose the bear, they weren't joking at all. Just be a jacked minotaur, bro. Well, I'm going to go read a book that's surging in popularity with men, the Bible. Years ago, Jordan Peterson said that women's top 5 fantasies were werewolf, vampire, pirate, billionaire, surgeon. Just be a werewolf, bro. Oh, can't? Okay. Just vampire max, bro. Pirate max, bro. Aye, captain. Go sail the 7 seas. Oh, no. Billionaire. Forgot that one. Totally attainable. And then if you're a surgeon, too, while you're at it. Oh, my Lord. My mother buys these. She thinks I don't know what they are and just displays them on the bookshelves. My life is pain. Oh, my God. I would off myself if my mom was reading these, dude. If any woman in my bloodline reads these, you're disowned. We're not associating anymore. Abdul, bring the stones now. Some Karen. This is why I hate video games. It appeals to the male fantasy. Meanwhile, the Karen's fantasy. There are some male writers writing and self-publishing this stuff under female pseudonyms. Of course they are, because they can't make any money otherwise. Male writers get rejected from publishers, and women are vastly more likely to buy books of other women. Let that one sink in. There you go. Pseudonym, Act like a woman, Chat GPT. You already know the slop they want. Write it, get rich. Hey, boys, while you're slaving away at your fucking 16-hour shift, doing some dirty ass hardcore work, have Chat GPT on the side help you write your freaking book and sell this degenerate shit. And then after you sell your book, this is what you're going to do. You're going to write yourself in the book, okay? You're going to describe some real degenerate shit, maybe even describe yourself a little bit. You got a weird something, right? You got a weird bicep tear, or you got this scar on your abs, or you got a weird dick or something, right? And then you're going to write a monster that has your features, and then just give him a minotaur head. And then you're going to be famous in this fucking whatever that is community. So not only do you make money off the book, but then you're going to go to these little events, those little sex parties, and you're going to be a complete degenerate. And they will throw fucking Apple trackers on your ass and stalk you to your apartment. They will air tag you to death. There will be so many hands milking you dry. You're going to come out there like a fucking raisin. All the water out of your body has disappeared. Wow. I'm genuinely shocked. What? This is a good one right here. Women like toxically masculine traits, but have been conditioned to hate men. By anthropomorphizing these traits onto humanoid animals, they can overcome the cognitive dissonance of being attracted to the traits while hating the trait holders. That's well put. Bingo. Nailed it. Nailed it. There you go. Of course, feminism just ruining everything. Wow.
Cameron Wright $9.99. Me and my wife just had baby number 5, baby number 6 coming soon. Just posted on school.
Congratulations, brother. You are a blessed man. Happy to hear that for you. Congratulations.
Ash Riley $6.65. Sounds like subliminal genetic replacement propaganda. If you look at it through the lens of the monsters being migrants.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. All right, boys. I can't do this anymore. This episode alone, this video wrecked me. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I'm going to finish watching Dave Smith and Nick Fuentes. Okay, you see this? I started a little bit right here. We're gonna go finish watching that. Okay. I'm not making a video about dog knots. It's over. That's it. If your woman reads smut, this is just another thing now. You literally have to ask a woman, what books are you reading? You have to low key, when she invites you to her place, you got to check her books. Nothing is safe, dude. Nothing is safe. What do you do? What do you do?
Mundo Amphibiota Jordanowski $5.91. I guess we should read this as research and amp it up a notch with ChatGPT. Some passive income is not bad.
Someone is going to end up doing that. They're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Do you think I'm fucking joking, dude? There's somebody here starving with the ambition and the hunger in them, and they're going to fucking write one of these degen ass books. You're going to use ChatGPT to do the artwork for the cover. And you're going to drop this motherfucker on Amazon, digital, and you're going to collect cheese. No, bro. Dating in the West is crazy. No, I'm gonna be convinced probably in the next 5 years, you will have no choice. You have to find a woman somewhere overseas. I think dating in the United States is out of control. Because another 5 years pass, you get those chicks in that, let's just say 20 to 25 range now, that grew up in this era, right now, in their prime dating age, which is what all the men are looking for. That 20 to 25 cohort are going to be shit like this, TikTok, brain drained of all fucking neurons. It's over. Wow.
Eric said $4.99. Bo, I don't think Jesus can help them. I dated an ex like this and I left that broad quick. Smiley face emoji.
Nah, Jesus ain't coming back to this world. No. No, there's nothing to save here. We have to reset. What happened to women watching wholesome shit? Someone said a cooking tutorial about garlic dog knots. Jesus Christ. What happened to women watching cooking videos and like gardening shit and how to pot a plant? What happened to that? Yeah, someone said book clubs take a whole new meaning. Yeah, when you hear a chick say she's in a book club, dude, yeah, it's like a fucking huge book club. You mean like Bible club? Bible study? What book are you really talking about? Please, please, the guy's gonna be on a date after spending $200 on a meal, and she drops it casually after fucking getting fat on a steak and dessert. She's gonna be like, so I'm in this book club. I'm in this new book club, and it's like very interesting what we're talking about. And the guy's gonna be like, "No, fuck." She's like, "There's this animal. He's dangerous." And then the guy's like soul just starts leaving his body. He's like, "Oh my fucking god, dude! She milks minotaurs. No way! I just got for $200 dinner." Yeah, you were hoping for Jesus, and you got minotaur. Wow. Wow. The erosion of modest principles. Dude, we walked off a fucking cliff, dug through hell, and came out in another dimension. Erosion, modest principles, they haven't existed in a while. We are so far gone. This is a whole new level of shit. Wait until they got robots. You'll really see degenerate shit. These women will goon themselves to death. I can see a future headline: woman goons to death. Machine gooning to death. Wow. Okay. All right, I'm done. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I appreciate all the super chatters. We'll be on around same time tomorrow. Honestly shocked. I don't know what to say. That was way worse than I would have ever expected. I put off watching that just to see. I knew it was going to be good, but geez, that was horrendous. Horrendous. Okay, guys. It's good hanging out with you. We'll see you tomorrow on the next one. Tribe of Men at Yahoo. If you haven't, join us on the free community on School. Also appreciate everybody that's been getting hats and shirts and mugs. We've been crushing it lately on that. Appreciate you guys. Community is free. It replaces our Discord. And thank you for the support, because that's all we're using for support for the channel. Wash your brains with some wholesome content. Wow. Take care, you guys.